Today on the CTV News at 5, another victory in the war on drugs. Police lay a number of charges against 6 people. Plus, safer roads or cash grab? What drivers say about additional red light cameras coming to our city in the new year. And the Lethbridge Midget Pronghorns open up play at the Max Major Midget Tournament in Calgary. We've got the highlights.
CTV News with Darrell Romuld.
Good afternoon. 6 people are facing more than 30 charges after police wrapped up 3 separate investigations targeting street-level drug trafficking in the Lethbridge area. Police say the operations were carried out by members of the Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit, which involves Lethbridge Regional Police and the RCMP. 4 of the men were charged in mid-December when police executed a series of search warrants in North, South, and West Lethbridge. Officers seized drug paraphernalia, packing equipment, scales, and over $8,000 in cash. Then, on December 20th, 2 men were arrested in a vehicle in North Lethbridge. Police seized more than 40 grams of cocaine and some cash. The 3rd investigation was completed on December 21st when patrol units arrested and charged an Edmonton man with several counts, including drug trafficking and breaching release conditions. Police say they're investigating focused on dial-a-dope operations involving the sale of crack cocaine.
Well, unfortunately, we see a lot of trafficking at the street level of crack cocaine. It's the #1 drug of choice on the streets here in our community and for southern Alberta. The alarming fact is these individuals are known to the police. They come with a criminal background but a violent background as well.
Police say many street-level drug dealers operate interprovincially, moving from one jurisdiction to another in order to avoid police or having to serve court-imposed release conditions. Well, the new year is just around the corner, and with it comes more red light cameras at 3 additional intersections in Lethbridge. But some residents think the whole thing is just a revenue generator. Jeanette Rocher reports.
When you're out driving, remember, they're watching. These cameras have caught more speeders than anticipated since being installed, according to police. And that means more revenue for the city of Lethbridge. These road sensors and cameras were recently installed by the city to reduce speeding and red light violations in high collision areas. But in the new year, a total of 6 intersections will be monitored. When you see one of these signs, get ready to stop. It's a future site of one of the red light cameras and road sensors that will be installed at the intersection of Mayor McGrath and 10th Avenue South. A fine for running a red light is $287. Fines for speeding through an intersection range from $57 to $350, depending on the speed.
Cash grab. You know, I think they'd be better off on the streets, policing and doing things the old-fashioned way.
They seem to be popping up everywhere. I mean, the problem I have is the flash going off, even if the camera's not installed in the location. But I mean, if it's a unnecessary evil, we just have to deal with it.
I don't like being trapped. They shouldn't trap you, should they? But you just have to take it steady, I suppose.
Regardless of the public backlash, Inspector Bill Kay of the Lethbridge Regional Police says these speed traps do work.
We always hope people drive safe and slow down, obey the speed limits and the other traffic laws. We know that a major contributor to collisions is excessive speed.
In fact, a 30% reduction in the number of collisions was recorded since cameras were first installed between 2010 and 2011. And police hope to see an even greater reduction in the new year.
Well, there's a lot of people that run red lights, run yellow lights. They think yellow means accelerate so they can get through before it turns red. So yeah, I think from that perspective, I think it's a good idea. It seems to be working on Mayor McGrath Drive.
Jeanette Rocher, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Since installing those cameras, police have issued nearly 21,000 speeding violations and 390 red light tickets. If you would like to voice your opinion against those cameras, you can visit our Facebook site at CTV Lethbridge. Alberta Health Services says new supportive living beds will meet needs in the Coaldale area, but Friends of Medicare says it's just another step towards privatization. The 25 new beds will be located in the renovated and expanded Sunny South Lodge in Coaldale. The spaces will be opened early in the new year as soon as they can hire additional staff, but Friends of Medicare says the expansion comes only months after the government closed the Little Bow Continuing Care Centre in Carmangay. The group says the end result is that seniors and their families will end up paying for some services that used to be covered by provincial government.
Well, the question is, who is it good news for? I mean, private companies are filling the void left where the Alberta Conservative government is cutting essential services, essential public health care services, such as the long-term care beds in Carmangay. There they closed down the facility which had 20 beds.
Friends of Medicare says Albertans need to recognize that part of the pattern sweeping across the province. And Dory's here with our first look at weather. They're getting walloped in the east, but here we're getting a little warmer as we go.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday, of course. We are climbing out of that deep freeze. We will be moving up into minus single-digit values pretty quick. Today's still a little on the chilly side, but I'll have the warmer details coming up in a couple of minutes, Darrell.
Thanks, Dory. Despite the recent cold weather, there hasn't been a significant increase in the number of people using Lethbridge's emergency shelter. Groups that support the homeless say many people return to their families to spend time over the Christmas holidays. Members of the Mobile Urban Street Team say there aren't as many people outside during the cold weather. Even Streets Alive is operating on reduced hours. Staff says there's not much demand for services between Christmas and New Year's.
Christmas time, families take over becoming families, and a lot of the street population actually has family in the area, and they tend to get home or they become family themselves. People are allowed in, they kind of pack into apartments, especially when it gets cold like this. Nobody really wants to go out if they don't have to, and so everybody just kind of stays in. So what we're seeing is the population on the street is really kind of minimal right now. It will increase in the new year.
Both Streets Alive and the emergency shelter said there is still a need for winter clothing, including gloves, toques, and especially socks for men. A winter storm system that pounded the U.S. earlier this week is now being blamed for at least 15 deaths and has knocked out power to thousands of homes. Alex Perez reports.
Indianapolis is trying to get back on its feet after it was walloped by the blizzard. This city brought to a virtual standstill. The storm dumping more than 7 inches of snow here. There we go. Residents struggled to dig out.
Look out the window, you couldn't hardly even see outside.
Those whiteout conditions seen across the lower Midwest states. In parts of southern Illinois, more than 1.5 feet of snow. In Cleveland, Ohio, freezing rain turned to snow, canceling about 80% of flights in and out of Cleveland. Across Arkansas, power lines snapped, leaving nearly 200,000 customers in the dark. And in the south, devastating tornadoes causing panic as they touch down. This surveillance video taken at a Walgreens in Mobile, Alabama, shows a tornado ripping through the parking lot. Inside, terrified customers scrambling for cover. From Texas to Alabama, at least 34 tornadoes rumbled across the area. This twister had winds of more than 110 miles per hour, flattening this church and anything unlucky enough to be in its path. Into this morning, the storm is bearing down and creating havoc in the northeast. In New York City, wind gusts of nearly 50 miles per hour. Upstate in Buffalo, almost 1 foot of snow.
The Minister of Aboriginal Affairs says he's made repeated attempts to reach Chief Spence to engage in discussion on the issues that she's raised. First Nations in Sarnia, Ontario are blocking the CN rail line for a 7th straight day today. Demonstrators say they will continue until Prime Minister Harper, not the minister, meets with the Attawapiskat Chief Teresa Spence. She's now in week 3 of a hunger strike to bring attention to Aboriginal issues. Protesters are continuing to oppose changes to federal Indian Acts and Bill C-45. The tragedy in Newtown prompted the city of Los Angeles to hold a Guns for Groceries Exchange Day. The anonymous program allowed gun owners to turn over their weapons to police with no questions asked. Handguns, rifles, and shotguns could be traded for grocery store gift cards worth $100. Assault weapons earned them a $200 card. The drive-through exchange had people lined up around the block. The holiday season often brings with it the battle of the bulge for many of us, and because of that, gym memberships and fitness equipment sales are on the rise. Treadmill sales at Connected Fitness are through the roof. Customers have laid down thousands of dollars to get their new year started off right. The biggest seller, treadmills and dumbbell sets. If you plan on dropping a few pounds or getting in better shape in 2013, a word of advice from experts: keep the promises you've made to yourself.
Just keep with it. Make that commitment in the new year. It's always hard at first, but don't get discouraged. Come, we can give you advice here in the store or go to gym. There's always trainers, but main thing is just keep with it if you make that resolution to get in shape.
Emerson says many of his customers are making purchases for themselves, which is probably a good idea. As we go to break, let's take a look at today's closing numbers.